Today on Commander Replay, it's a triple red aggro fest. First, one lonely Karametra deck. Watch as Grenzo Havoc takes on Krenko, Valduk, and Karametra. Find out who can survive the aggro onslaught. Next on Commander Replay. Hey guys, I want to take a second to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. We have a bunch of new Patreon supporters. We have Nick Calitri, Dark Matter Genesis, and Philip Lavoy. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the support. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Grenzo Havoc. This deck comes as voted on by Patreon supporters. And that's going to bring it, we kept the hand that looks like this, and on our first turn we draw into this Shared Animosity. So we will start with the Myriad Landscape since that comes down tapped, and we'll pass the turn. Interesting pod today in that we have 3 mono red decks with our Grenzo, opponent playing Krenko Mob Boss, and another opponent playing Valduk Keeper of Flame, and then our final opponent playing Karametra God of Harvests. Methinks this might be a pretty fast game with 3 red decks floating around, and also it looks like Krenko off to a pretty fast start with turn 1 Mana Crypt into Goblin Rabblemaster, making a token for the attacks already. Sends that token into the Karametra down to 39. It's a pretty good turn 1. Valduk with an Ancient Tomb. I forgot to put Ancient Tomb in this deck. Oops. Turn 1 Ancient Tomb for the Valduk. They should be able to get Valduk down next turn, so yeah, this game going to be moving right along. So that's going to bring it to our turn 2, draw into a Beetleback Chieftain. Right here, we're going to play a mountain, play the Dragon Fodder. Hopefully the Dragon Fodder are at least good enough to convince Krenko to attack elsewhere. And then we pass the turn Mana Crypt Flip on the Krenko. Oh, this isn't the Mountain Walk Goblin. I was hoping it was the Mountain Walk Goblin. That'll be really good against the table this game. We'll probably want to find that at some point. So Krenko coming into play seems pretty good. Opponent gonna do some attacking into the Karametra. Karametra down to 33. Wow. Turn 2 at 33. That's some damage. Here comes a Darksteel Ingot for the Valduk. Sure. Getting their ramp going a bit. So for those that don't know, Grenzo Havoc is red for a 2/2. Says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one, go target creature that player controls, which means it has to attack a player other than you, or exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card and spend mana as though it were any color to cast it. 2 really good abilities. Most people actually underrate that Goad ability, especially with so many creatures that are going to be floating around this game. Goad will be really strong. It both forces your opponents to attack other opponents and makes it so they don't have blockers. So both really good things. That's going to bring it to our turn 3. We draw into this Goblin Rally. We're going to drop a mountain right here. Do we go for the Chieftain? Other goblin creatures you control. That's important. I don't think all of them say you control, so that's something we'll want to keep an eye on. With Krenko off to such a fast start already, I think it's actually going to be better to just crack the Myriad Landscape and try to ramp a little bit right here. Hoping on a board wipe from Karametra just to kind of slow them down. So get some mountains into play, and no real reason to attack. We'll just stay put for now. And Mana Crypt Flip on the Krenko opponent. When you have 3 red decks like this, Mana Crypt Flips can matter. So they win that one, staying at 37. That incremental life loss like that can start to matter after a while because you start getting around 20. And, you know, turn 5, turn 6, people are going to be thinking Alpha Strike. So gotta be careful with that. So opponent plays a Goblin Instigator and then, we probably need that one in this deck. Then doubles him up with the Krenko, going on the attack into the Valduk. Valduk down to 30. Hope someone's got a board wipe. We do have a Mizium Mortars in our deck, I think there might be a Blasphemous Act as well, but no real guarantee. Oh, there's a Blasphemous Act. So this game's slowing right down. Our bet on the Myriad Landscape is going to pay off right there. Kind of knew that Krenko was already into board wipe or bust territory, so it didn't make a lot of sense for us to try to commit more things to the board, since we weren't going to be able to overpower what they already had going on. That's a Sword of Fire and Ice. That seems pretty good in this matchup. So we got a game going. Krenko isn't just going to kill us all in 4 turns, which sounds good to me. And here comes Karametra. So next turn, opponent will probably start generating a lot of mana doing stuff, so we'll need to be careful of that as well. That's going to bring it back to our turn. We draw into a Release the Gremlins. Lot of interesting artifacts we can blow up. So let's start by playing this mountain. Probably should have played the Rogue's Passage, actually, just because of 3 red opponents, good chance of wheel effects. So we can destroy 2 artifacts, I believe. 2 Darksteel Ingots, so actually only 2 artifacts worth destroying. But I think going for Mana Crypt and Sword of Fire and Ice right here, both going to be pretty good ideas. And that'll use up exactly all of our mana. The Gremlins have been released.
So Sword of Fire and Ice going down, and Mana Crypt going down to release the Gremlins. We get 2/2/2s out of the deal. And we pass the turn, Hordling Outburst for the Krenko opponent. But they will be... Ooh, they kept a low mana count hand. They are now several turns away from recasting their Krenkos, so that's exactly where we want to keep them. Thinking next turn might be time for Grenzo. We'll see. Here comes Valduk. Here comes a Herald of the Pantheon. So, looks like opponent's probably doing the Karametra Enchantress bit. They'll get to look for a land, put it into play, and a Cryptolith Rite for the Karametra. And, ooh, Aura of Silence. Shared Animosity is an enchantment, only enchantment we have currently. So, we draw into a mountain. Let's play the Rogue's Passage right here, just in case of a wheel effect. 3 red decks, you never know when you're going to get wheeled. Question is... awkward. We have 6 mana. Takes 7 to do that. We could go Shared Animosity be 5. That's also awkward. Goblin Rally gets us 4 goblins. Don't love any of these, really. I'm thinking Grenzo. So cast Grenzo. Let us... I'm going to do some attacking. Karametra definitely not going to block with their Herald. Valduk also not going to block, so we can swing that way. Question is who to goad and who... Oh, they are going to block. They're just going to trade in the Herald. Wow. Did not expect that. So we get 1 trigger with the Godo, and we're actually gonna... We're gonna goad the Valduk right here. Goad makes things so awkward for our opponent. And then I guess we follow up with the Goblin Chieftain. So that will give our other goblins haste. So next turn we can look at something like the Beetleback Chieftain. I think it would be pretty good. Or the Goblin Rally. And we'll pass the turn. Oh, hey. Could have definitely played the Goblin Chieftain first. And also attack with Grenzo. So that's a whoopsie. I don't think I've ever actually played a Goblin deck before. Chalk that up to being new to the deck. And that's a Goblin Pile Driver coming down for the Krenko opponent. It's a pretty good one. Pro blue, and whenever Goblin Pile Driver attacks, it gets +2/+0 for each other attacking Goblin. Pretty good. If there was ever one to goad, that would be the one. Opponent says getting their Mana Crypt destroyed really hurts. I noticed. Swiftfoot Boots coming down for the Valduk. That will shut off the Goat ability next turn, but that will force them into an attack this turn, and they will get a token out of the deal. I wonder if they send the token our way just out of spite. We'll see. Oh, the Valduk opponent, by the way, is a Patreon supporter of mine, Doc Hawk. So, welcome, Doc, to the game. They've been on the wrong end of a few of these attacks. Down to 22 life already, and it's only turn 5, so sorry about that, Doc. Opponent can put the Swiftfoot Boots on the Valduk. Sure. Gets a Valduk trigger, go into combat, and that will give them 1 token. Creates a 3/1. Ooh, those tokens have trample. That's something to keep in mind. Valduk into the Karametra, and the token also into the Karametra. So Karametra about to take a punch right here. That's why I'm surprised they traded in that Herald of the Pantheon, especially if they're trying to drop a bunch of enchantments. That'll gain them life back, and life gain pretty good when everyone trying to aggro you out. So the token gets exiled. But also, so importantly right here is that the goad on the Valduk makes it so they don't have blockers this turn, which will be really helpful. There's a Wolf Briar, so that'll get opponent some blockers. And it's kicked 2 times, so a bunch of 2/2s coming down. Means that we probably won't be able to attack into them, but we can attack our other opponents and keep goading them, which is probably what I'll do. So opponent's got a 4/4 Wolfbriar, a 6/7 Karametra in creature form, and the 2 wolves, all of which can tap for mana off of the Cryptolith Rite. Pretty good spot to be, which means we don't really want a piece of them. We're going to try to let the other opponents deal with them. Shared Animosity will be 5. We have 7 mana currently. It's awkward. Beetleback Chieftain gives us a bunch of goblins. Goblin Rally gives us a bunch of goblins. I think we're going to go for... Man, it makes me so sad. If Aura wasn't down, we could play Beetleback Chieftain and Shared Animosity, and that would be crazy amounts of damage. Next turn, I'm thinking about the Shared Animosity, so I think Goblin Rally is going to be the better of the 2 right here. Let's go to combat. Send a couple into... send this over... Do we allow opponent the chance to block our Grenzo? Probably not. That seems like a bad thing. Also, same idea with the Goblin Chieftain. Send those there. Send this over to the Krenko. Send this over to the Krenko. That over to the Krenko. Leaves us with 2 tokens to block. Seems pretty good. I like that. We're still at 40, so yeah. Let's attack like that. Opponent going to block with a token. Opponent not going to block with a token. So no blocks. Nice. So we're getting in some damage right here. And now there's going to be some Grenzo triggers flying around. We get a bunch of Grenzo triggers. Definitely going to goad some stuff of the Krenko opponent, especially this Pile Driver. So the second trigger is on the Valduk opponent. That one also has to be in exile. No choice there. No legal targets because of the Swiftfoot Boots. We will goad another token, and we will goad 1 more token. So we exile a mountain from our opponent. I'm sure they probably wanted that. 2 mountains from our opponent. Interesting. Well, can't cast any of it anyway. So, and then we pass the turn. So as long as nothing crazy happens, next turn, Shared Animosity should be pretty good. So opponent going to send everything into the Valduk, and Pile Driver is going to get nice and big. And this may just take Valduk out of the game. Nope, they survive at 7. Suppose I could have actually done the math before announcing that. Oops. So Valduk going to get one more crack at it. A board wipe would probably be a pretty good place to be, but they did already burn their Blasphemous Act. It'll have to be not a Blasphemous Act. Plays a Terramorphic, cracks a Terramorphic. There's a Koth of the Hammer. That'll do a couple things in that it provides another target to attack, so it could potentially gain them some life that way, and of course the Planeswalker abilities are also nice. So going to use the plus ability on Koth, sure. 4/4 Mountain. Sadly chooses the mountain they just played, and it does not have haste. Kind of awkward. Opponent gets one elemental token. See if they decide to send it anywhere. Nope. Opponent doesn't actually have that many mountains, so even if they ultimate the Koth, it's like not that big of a deal. It's a little annoying, but as far as Planeswalker ultimates go, not the scariest thing based on the low land count that they have currently. Oh, it's an austere command. Artifacts and creatures with 3 or less. Boom. That hurts. That hurts. Opponent going to tap out for an Aid from the Cowl. Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield, reveal top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it to the bottom. Believe Revolt did trigger. Maybe not. I don't see anything in their graveyard. Oh, they get a Dousing Shaman. Okay, that's something. We get a Siege Gang Commander. Sweet card. This will put us... So drop a mountain. That puts us on 8 mana. Let's see what we can do with 8. Our commander will be 4, and Beetleback Chieftain will be 4. That seems like a pretty good place to be, right? So cast the Beetleback Chieftain. We get some goblins. Cast the Grenzo, and pass the turn. Here's a Skirk Prospector for the Krenko opponent. Sure. Opponent's going to minus their Koth, get some extra mana. Sure. That seems like a good idea. There's a Cage Sun. Sadly, not a Gauntlet. Gauntlet would help us out quite a bit. I am running all 3 of the mana doublers in this deck. I looked it up the other day. Gauntlet of Might, the original one, like $700 in paper or something like that. Crazy. I have a proxy one that people are generally cool with me using, especially since it's like my Ashling. It's in my Ashling deck, which is like not a deck that I'm willing to spend tons and tons of money on. But yeah, Gauntlet of Might, stupidly expensive. Here's a Celestial Ancient. That thing can get pretty big. Opponent gets to look for a land. Karametra into the Valduk opponent, so in all likelihood that will kill the Valduk opponent. Valduk going down, they go to -1, so they're out of the game. We draw a Goblin Crater Maker. We can sacrifice it to do 2 damage to target creature or destroy target colorless non-land permanent. None of those currently. I'm thinking now's a good time to try to get some card advantage from the Krenko opponent. I'm going to send in 3 to the Krenko. We're going to leave 1 back for blocking and probably follow up with another creature or 2 on our second main. So no blocks from our opponent. We get 3 Grenzo triggers. We're going to go with the Exile for each one of these. I don't care that much about sending the Skirk Prospector in at this point. Doesn't really seem worth it. So gonna need some extra cards. There's a Soul Ring. That's a good one. And a Goblin Ringleader. Oh, hey, that seems really good. So let's get out of combat first. Start with this Soul Ring. Oh, 3 for Soul Ring. That makes it so much less good. Do we still want it? Goblin Ringleader. Give us a blocker. Ooh, actually, no. You know what? The Ringleader may not be as good as, like, Siege Gang Commander. Because our deck isn't super dense with goblins. It's got probably, like, 20... It's got somewhere, like, 20, 25. But we have things like Goblin Rally, which make goblins, but aren't actually goblins themselves. So, we'll see. Bet Krenko really wanted that Soul Ring, though. Here comes Soul Ring, and I think it's actually going to be Siege Gang Commander, since that gives us a lot of blockers and sets us up again for the Shared Animosity next turn. The next question is, do we leave 2 open mana on the Siege Gang Commander to shoot something if needed? I would say that that's probably the best idea. Like, having mana open for some removal, some type of interaction, I think is going to be better than just tapping out for another 2/2. We can always cast the Crater Maker next turn if we need to. I suppose it won't have haste, but so getting some value off the Exile ability right there. Soul Ring, a pretty good hit. Krenko down to 26, by the way, and they just scoop it. So much for the comment of no early scoops. So opponent scoops, missing land drops. Well, you're gonna have a battle now. Luckily, we have a lot of token fodder. Hopefully, opponent doesn't have any, like, one-sided board wipe type of stuff. There's a Heliod. That's a pretty good one. Gonna trigger Celestial Ancient and Karametra. Okay. Opponent got a pretty big wall over there with 2 indestructible creatures, And all these things getting pumped up from, what is it, the Celestial Ancient? I believe that's doing that. And there's a Sigil of the Empty Throne. Yup. Things. We could use one of our things that makes everything. We could use one of our cards that either gives menace or makes things unblockable. That would be most ideal. Ooh, opponent sends in everything. Alright, I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with this. Does this thing have flying? Of course it has flying. And the vigilance is really going to be a problem right here. All right, so let's do the math. Right now, opponent has 5 creatures. We have 8. If we lay down Shared Animosity, that means that all of our goblins are going to get, what, +7/+7? And then I suppose we'd probably, after that, we could probably get there with Siege Gang commander damage. Okay, so we're going to go no blocks right here. Just make sure this isn't lethal for any reason. We're at 40. Should be okay. It's going to be a really big hit, though. So maybe playing the Crater Maker probably would have been a little better, honestly. But we go down to 16, taking the big old hit. There's a Tectonic Edge. Lands moderately helpful. See how this goes. Play the Tectonic Edge. Play Shared Animosity. I'm going to tap out the Rogue's Passage here. I don't think we're going to be using the Rogue's Passage at all. Shared Animosity time. That leaves us with just enough mana for 2 Siege Gang Commander triggers. Turn everything sideways. Shared Animosity is going to trigger. Opponent got really lucky that they played that Aura of Silence earlier, because Shared Animosity would have been down much sooner. Our creatures are massive. Opponent's going to block our Grenzo, block the Siege Gang Commander, block the Beetleback Chieftain, block a token, and they're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 times 4 is 32. They're still dead, I think. We're going to sacrifice the Siege Gang Commander just for safety's sake. Opponent says they are dumb. Yep, they missed the blocker right there. Oh, opponent could have made an additional enchantment with Heliod. Yup, missed that. They can't tap the creatures and make the enchantment and block them all at the same time. Oh, yeah. They also said they could have destroyed the Shared Animosity with Aura of Silence. Boom, getting there. Forcing some mistakes on our opponents, and sometimes you can do that stuff. So, Grenzo Havoc Razor, fun little goblin deck. Not scary in the same way that Krenko is. Like, people see a Krenko and you just immediately start thinking board wipe. Grenzo has a little bit more sustain. It's not quite as fast, but people really underestimate that goat ability. We kept our opponent's creatures tapped out a bunch. We got some additional value off the exile. Just a lot better sustain with Grenzo. And if you want to play a longer game with goblins and or not take the level of hate that Krenko gets, like if you have a more casual group, people probably won't get mad at you for playing Grenzo in the way that they will playing Krenko constantly, because Krenko requires usually about 2 board wipes to keep it from really getting out of control. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this deck. My first time running a Goblin deck, which is surprising because it's an archetype that's been around for quite a while. I've just never gotten around to building it, but yeah, fun little deck. Anyway, as always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe, and thank you for watching.